Burkina Faso's ruling junta holds a press conference to respond to the proposal of 30-month transition period to return to constitutional rule by a newly created transition charter committee. Last month, soldiers angered at Roch Marc Kabore's handling of a bloody 6-year-old jihadist insurgency took control. 2 years is not a fixed period. 2 years requires a number of preconditions. We're not starting the fight against terrorism on 24th of January 2022. Of course, we have been in this fight for a long time. We will strengthen the achievement, we will fill in the gaps, but with all the forces. The junta, the patriotic movement for safeguard and restoration, says the period cannot be fixed and that the transition can only take place when the West African nation has reached a certain level of strength. When we have gradually reached a certain level of strength, we will be able to guarantee that the part of our territory that are occupied by the adversary will therefore be reoccupied and reconquered in order to allow the displaced population to return to their land. Burkina Faso, like Mali and Guinea, has been suspended from ECOWAS activities, but so far it has escaped wider punishment following talks with envoys who reported on a positive tone from the junta. These fields used to provide a regular harvest to the people who farmed them, but no more. A 4-year-long drought has hit Kenya, so the crops keep failing. Last year, the rain normally expected in October or November didn't arrive until December. And then it was less than average and only lasted for a week. For farmer Safari Mbuvi, it's a devastating blow. Since I was young, my father used to get a bounty harvest in this farm. But now, there seems to be a change in the climate and the rains are no longer dependable. I will not harvest anything, not even a single sack of maize is possible. Now I'm left wondering because we're still struggling to farm, the weather is continuously changing, we depend entirely on rainfall. 79-year-old Esther Mulu, mother of 7, follows a traditional lifestyle where she stays with her last-born son and practices subsistence farming on her 1 acre of land. She has seen the weather change over a lifetime. During our youth, we used to harvest millet, sorghum, pumpkins and maize. It used to rain. But now there are no more rains. What is left is hunger. And whenever we wait for the rains, they fail. This is all I harvested from the entire acre with my grandchildren, and it's what we will cook and share. Climate change experts and humanitarian aid organizations are warning that Kenya may sink into the worst drought situation ever.
There's a lot of commitments that have been made from way back in Kyoto protocol to all of these issues around disaster risk reduction that we now are begging that we look at what is happening on the ground before we lose more lives and continue threatening the livelihoods of people.
According to Famine Early Warning System Network, more than 4 million people will be in need of sustained humanitarian food assistance in Kenya for the whole of 2022.
In Liberia, pangolins are prime targets for poachers who seek them out for their scales, which are believed to contain medicinal properties. The Libasa Wildlife Sanctuary near the capital Monrovia rehabilitates rescued pangolins. It has released 42 back into the wild since 2017.
So naturally, the pangolin don't have any predators except with the humans, because when they get afraid, it will roll into a ball. So rolling into the ball will actually save the pangolin, but it also make it easy for we the human to just pick it up and do anything to it.
In 2016, Liberia banned the hunting of protected species, but the practice is still rife in Bapolu County, north of the capital.
It's because of poverty, we got to hunt. Then when the government is saying that we must start killing these animals, they have to open an avenue for us to get a job so we can get money to sustain our home.
Back in Monrovia, agents from the Forestry Department are raiding a market to seize illegally hunted bushmeat. The traders, who are mostly women, plead for their merchandise to be spared in vain. Yeah, you caught me. Do you want me to go become a sex worker on the streets? Outside the market, the mound of dead monkeys and at least one pangolin goes up in flames.
The message is getting through to everybody. There were a lot of workshops, a lot of awareness, and we've been saying this for a long, long time. For over 3 years, we've been saying this. But, the people are so stubborn, If there will always be lawbreakers, so for us to do our job.
But without creating alternative sustainable jobs, Liberia may lose the battle to protect its wildlife.
Rescuers in Comoros scrambled to find any survivors after a plane carrying 14 passengers crashed into the Indian Ocean archipelago on Saturday. Airline AB Aviation said its Mosena plane disappeared from the radar about 2.5 kilometers from its destination during its flight between the capital, Moroni, and the city of Fomboni. I've come here to know information about the flight from Moroni and Meheli because my mother was there. There's no news. The head of the agency, Mr. Ayad, has already come and he hasn't told us anything yet. I have no more hope. The information that is circulating here shows that we can't expect anything at all. Unfortunately, we're told that packages and debris have been found. We don't need to know if they are packages or debris. We need information about our families. The Comorian government said 12 passengers were Comorian and that 2 pilots were Tanzanian. 3 speedboats had been dispatched to the estimated crash site, according to a senior police officer. The authorities said they had asked for help from neighboring French territory of Mayotte. Climate change is having a devastating effect on towns and villages in rural Morocco, where water has become very scarce. In spite of new wells and wastewater plants helping to irrigate crops, ongoing droughts are forcing more farmers to give up agriculture and migrate to the cities. We've always only worked in agriculture, and we always want to continue this work. We will always want to stay here, but if the lack of rain continues, we'll have to leave. It will be very difficult for us to make this decision. The Groundswell report of the World Bank estimates that in 2050, 5.4% of the total Moroccan population, about 1.9 million people, would migrate within the country if no measures are taken to tackle climate change. Climate change causes a lack of rainfall, which in turn causes drying of the lands, and this had an impact on agriculture and livestock because of the lack of fodder. And here there's no grass. There are only stones. The lack of rain had an impact on the well as well. According to the town hall of Zalet Ladem, more and more residents are leaving the village because of droughts, but no statistics can confirm this statement. The phenomenon of rural migration is a direct consequence of the drought that afflicted the region, which has become a structural phenomenon due to the successive years of drought, and this is despite the tremendous effort made by the state to stabilize the population through the provision of drinking water, electricity, and supportive agricultural programs like insurance on agricultural crops in the drought period. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC have been meeting since February 14 to assess climate change impact, adaptation, and vulnerability. It is due to report its findings before March.